This is a leather sheet that I've cut that's about, oh, 3 inches long or so. This is going to be fringe, and what I've done is I cut about an inch long piece of mat board and I tape it about a quarter of an inch or an eighth of an inch overlap. That leather sheet overlaps this mat board. That's a stop block for cutting the fringe. After I got it pinned in place, and I'll put another strip on and to hold it evenly across, and then just take your scissors and cut that fringe all the way across, and this is your fringe that you're going to use on your war shirt and on the bib. So now you can take it off, and you can also use that to cut the hair. Here's about 5.5, 6 inches long of that thin hard sheet, and you'll do the same thing to cut hair. And you'll want to cut this a lot thinner. Cut this. Takes a little time to do this, but it really looks great. And I've given you plenty of paper to do this with. I've got a paper cutting assist tool that will do this too, and you can cut it a lot faster.
Okay, this is it. It's called the TupiCat. It's an acronym for Precision Paper Cutting Assist Tool. You can use it for cutting hair, fringe, and other strips of paper.
And look for that on our website. I think if you haven't signed up for our newsletter, you should do that and get notice of all the new tools and paper and starter casts and all the project lessons we're coming out with. And if you really want to stay with Ekman method, you're going to want to be notified as to what we're doing. So go ahead and cut as much hair as you have there in a sheet. You have a half a sheet, that's going to give you plenty. Now this is the fringe, and I've made a section big enough to go on both sides, and I wet it and lay it in underneath those glass beads on the back of that little leather strip that is the bib. And I wet both sides, and the reason why I do that is because I want it to soften up, so I can, while it's a little bit wet and tacked down, I can move this, and I'll put the bottom down, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. The bottom fringe, I don't have to do much to it, but the ones on the sides, if it's real fringe, it's going to lay down, and the gravity is going to pull it down a little bit. So now that it's soaked in a little bit, I can take here, I'm using an awl, but you can use a burnisher, a tuck tool burnisher will work fine in your fingers, and you just kind of fold it down so it dries that way. And I'm just going to use my fingers to do this and pull it down. It works better when it's a little bit hydrated. You can do it when it's dry too, but I like to do it this way. Trouble is it could pull loose, so just be careful when you're doing it. And then form it down. It looks really great when you're done. And now you can take that bib, wet the back of it, lay it on your sculpture right under that little neck piping that you made. And push it down. And that's the bib. Now you'll take some more fringe and you'll want it to go from the shoulder down underneath some of that fringe that's laying down under the bib, kind of on an angle. And you can see, you can go ahead and cut some of those glass beads out. Use use them attached in two rows. You can see I've got 2 rows there, and I've cut those strips out ready to go. And they're going to go right over on top these this fringe. Wet the back of those beads sections and make it about as long as the fringe is. You can see the fringe goes from his top of his shoulder down to about the bottom of where the war shirt is, where it vignettes off. And then cut it straight along those beads, and then with your fingers you can kind of tack it down over that fringe, and you'll do that on both sides. And also down vertically on the arms, on the sleeves. So wet that. We're going to do his left side first, and we'll lay this down and put some more, make it as long as it needs to be to the end of the sleeve, and just lay it there, let it tack in, and then take your strip that's already wet and lay it over top of that. And this is done pretty much in real time, where you see this, and it goes pretty fast. And then you'll want to do the other side too. Just cut it straight along where those glass beads are. Work it in with your fingers. Get your fringe right. And then lay that fringe down, kind of holding it, putting some pressure on those beads while you bring that fringe down. And the same way on the other side. And he's got his war shirt on, and it's pretty much finished. If you're doing a pedestal, there's not much you do to the back of it, except the hair will come down over the back. Get a little more fringe where I want it. Wasn't quite as long as I wanted it to be, so I can tear a piece off and add it in, and then put the glass beads over it, and then trim them at the bottom. And I call them glass beads because that's what they are. They're Italian glass beads. It was a trade item that the Europeans had. And Native Americans still use those glass beads for their regalia. You see them all the time when you go to powwows on their dance regalia. And the different tribes have different colors and different designs. Now I put the claw necklace on, the bear claw necklace with the round beads, and tied it in the back, and I don't think I really need to show you any more than that. You can put it on as tight as you want it. I like it. You just see barely see that piping, but like I said, we cover detail with detail, and unless you have detail underneath, it's wrong.